practically perfect in every way. While Mary Poppins may have this as her catchphrase, it could be really hard to feel like you are growing if you are a classic overachiever. Ask me how I know. So, in this week's episode, I'm going to be sharing with you 3 ways that you can really feel like you are growing, even when sometimes you tell yourself what you're doing is not good enough, or you feel like you're not hitting your big goals, you haven't crossed the finish line yet. Because here's the deal, y'all. When you are a classic overachiever, which many of my clients are, um, as well. And so sometimes we don't feel like we're getting to where we want to be fast enough. We we sometimes feel good. We know that we can do all the things. We are a get in it, get it done kind of person. And so sometimes you might feel like, but I haven't gotten to XYZ yet, even though the things that you've done are amazing and seem impossible to other people. To you, you just feel like, yeah, that's just what we do. And so, my friends, we're going to dive into this today. So, if you're joining me, say hello. Let me know that you're here. I always want to know who comes on live with me. Now that we've shifted things over primarily to our business page because of Facebook's new streaming stuff, we are watching and we want to know who's making the journey on over to the business page, or to our YouTube channel. So let us know that you're here. We always want to know, like I said, so we can have a conversation about this, because I have to tell you that I have come to realize that I am the classic overachiever. And at first I was like, I don't think that that's just who I am. Good morning. Good morning. So, if that kind of resonates with you, I want you to know that you are a unicorn, because so many people are cannot or would never do the things that you do. And so sometimes we forget how amazing we are and how much we actually accomplish, and because we don't always celebrate those little successes. So if you stumbled upon this somehow, I'm Erin Bird, and I work with dance studio owners and educators to really grow their businesses, all without the overwhelm, the burnout, the sacrificing their personal life. And this sometimes goes hand in hand with the classic overachiever syndrome. That's what I'm going to call it, right? Because we always, innately, internally, we're like, oh, we could do more. We could do more, right? And so when we have that feeling or those feelings inside of us, sometimes it can lead to burnout, overwhelm, you sacrificing your personal lives. There's a lot of things that can present itself when you are a classic overachiever. So if you come back in on the replay, we want to know that as well. So again, let's continue the conversation today about this idea of being an overachiever, and like 3 ways that we have really identified to help you overcome some of those overachiever tendencies, right? So you could still see the growth that is happening from maybe an outside perspective. So let's go ahead and just dive right in today. If you know someone who needs to hear this broadcast today, please feel free to share. That could be your little present to them and to me, and it's in a loving way. You might be thinking, ooh, I don't want to share this with somebody because I'm calling them an overachiever. That's a good thing, I think. Anyway, so let's go ahead and dive into this idea real quick on 3 ways to grow, or to see growth, I guess I should say, as an overachiever. Now, the first thing that I believe that we truly need to do is a couple things. Number 1, we need to celebrate our strengths and get support for our weaknesses. And here's the thing. As a classic overachiever, we are typically the jack of all trades, maybe master of none, or we are master. There are things that we master that are in our zone of genius, that are our wheelhouses, right? And we need to celebrate those things. But as a classic overachiever, we also need to recognize that we should get support for things that maybe aren't in our zone of genius and or don't bring us joy. Somebody who that is their zone of genius or is their wheelhouse could do much quicker, better, right? We need to recognize that. And so the first thing we need to really do is celebrate what are our strengths? What are our strengths? And I have to tell you that, as I've gotten older, with age comes insight. And what I recognize is I have certain zones of genius that I really thrive in and that I love showing up and doing. And there's things that I could do, but they really don't bring me joy. Or that I recognize I'm not really good at this. Can I do it and check a box? Sure. But is it being done to the full effect that it could be done if I were to delegate that to somebody else or get support with that? Oh my gosh, I love Gay Hendricks so much. Y'all, if you're watching, Gay Hendricks, read it. Great. Yes. So we need to, y'all, I love to read. If you guys don't know, I am a reader. I think it's part of our growth. But anyway, I can go on and on about that. But I love Gay Hendricks. So I'm just saying that all for y'all. Okay. So coming back, we need to get support. And that support can come in many different forms, right? I get support in many different fashions because I recognize that there's things that I just don't like doing. Like I don't like doing, and or just like many of you, while I could do it, it doesn't mean I should be doing it because it's not the best use of my time, energy, and sometimes I need someone, an outsider, who can see the forest for the trees because they're not in it. So, my friends, if you are a classic overachiever, if you're joining me, say hello. Let me know that you're here. I see a few of you on watching. If you find if that resonates with you, right? And it's not a bad thing. I want you guys to know it's being an overachiever is not a bad thing. If that resonates with you, I want you to know that you have to celebrate your strengths. Celebrate as we, check off those things. I have to tell you that this is something that I actually hired a mentor to help me with, was because I was not celebrating what my strengths really were. And I was at a point in my business where I was feeling like I had to do it all, right? Hey there, Misty, good morning. Or yeah, it's still morning there. Okay, I was like, oh, is it morning? I don't know, time zones. Anywho, so we have to be able to celebrate our strengths and really get support for our weaknesses. And once I hired a mentor, that was able to really dig into this idea with me, it opened up so much more opportunity for me because I was really decided I was going to operate from the place of my strengths and get support in those other areas. And it really did shift things for me. And it reminded me I'm so great at celebrating other people's wins and celebrating other people's strengths through our consulting and coaching company, through with my staff, like here in our nonprofit. I am so great at celebrating others, but I had a really hard time celebrating myself. And once we shifted that a little bit, and I started to recognize how freaking awesome I am. And honestly, what a badass I am. I even when I say it, sometimes I'm like, but no, the reality is I'm a badass, y'all. And I have amazing strengths, but I also have weaknesses just like everybody else. So know that. So that's the first thing that we need to do as a classic overachiever, to be able to see and our growth and to be able to see all the amazing things that we're doing. I don't know why, but going back, y'all, I'm like, uh, I don't know. I can't. Maybe it's ADHD. I don't know. But you guys, one of my favorite books is The Big Leap from Gay Hendricks. So if y'all have not read The Big Leap, do yourself a favor. That's a plug. I'm not getting paid for it, but I just I love the book so much. And so I think that if you guys haven't read it, pick it up, read it. Okay. I digress. I honestly have read it a couple times just because I love it so much. Okay, the other thing, so that's number one, is celebrate your strengths and get support for your weaknesses. Now, here's the thing, y'all, which could be really, really hard. Number two can be really, really hard if you're an overachiever. You have to embrace failure. You have to embrace failure. And if we embrace it and look at failure as a stepping stone to success, right, it will shift the way that you show up in the world. And because as an overachiever, sometimes we expect, the expectation is that anytime we do anything, it's going to be wildly successful, because that is what we are programmed to think. Because if you have proven to yourself over and over and over again that anything you do it well. So if that is the muscle memory and the brain memory that we have from past experiences, when we experience that failure or what could seem like failure, it could be a huge blow. If we can shift that and embrace the failure as part of the journey and what actually is the takeaway from it. Y'all, I have failed miserably. I have failed publicly. And it's all about what you do in that failure. I have invested money in things and lost a corrupt ton of money because it didn't go as planned. Right? And so to many people, or even to myself, I could have said that, oh my gosh, this event that we hosted, I'll share the story. It was probably about, oh my gosh, 10 years ago. I decided we were going to host this community event, and to other people, the event turned out and looked wildly successful, right? We took something from scratch. We built it into this huge community event. We had, great, we had attendance. We had media coverage. We had all of the great things that a good community event has, except for profit. Y'all, except for profit. And so I lost a lot of money from that singular event. Now, I could have told myself I'm never doing events again. They don't work. I could have told myself that, right? But I embraced the failure. I looked at, okay, where was the miss? What did we do? We looked at the numbers. I didn't, forecast and budget well enough for this event for us to be profitable. I learned a lot. And, I gave myself a couple days to feel the feelings of failure. But then I snapped myself out of it real quick and said, you know what? There's a lot of people who have, these ideas in their heart. They have these ideas that they're like, ooh, I really love to do, but they never take the leap of faith because they're afraid of failure. I'm not afraid to fail anymore, my friends. I really am not, because I recognize that failure is part of the journey to be successful. And from that failure, open the door for a contract with our fair system here, and this fair is bananas, y'all. If you guys understood where I lived and all the things, you'd be like, okay. Anyway, it opened us up for a contract because they saw firsthand, they came to the community event that we produced that I deemed a failure because we weren't profitable. They attended as attendees, the leadership team for our fair, and they approached us to help them produce their kids' day at their fair because they loved what we did so much. Now, that contract not only made us profitable, right? So there was a silver lining. It was the catalyst. That failure was the catalyst for something really, really good to come into our business. But we have to be able to embrace a failure. We have to be okay with failing. I mean, I could go through and, you all have seen them. We've talked about them. Most people that we see in society that are wildly successful, y'all, I would say 99% of them failed over and over and over and over again until they got it right, until they had that switch, until everything aligned, but they were willing and they were relentless, tenacious. They had moxie. They were like, they are relentless in their pursuit, basically. And part of that was being able to embrace failure. Being able to embrace failure. And really framing it in a different way. But we have to be we have to be willing to fail. And what I am also going to say about being a classic overachiever is that we have what seem like big, audacious, scary, impossible goals and dreams. Our expectations of ourselves are higher. This year for our nonprofit, our big, audacious, scary goal, right? I wanted to serve 12,000 students this year in our nonprofit. And we got to just under 9,000. Now, did I fail as a leader because we didn't get to 12,000? I don't know. Depends on how you look at it. But guess what? Serving almost 9,000 students this school year, I think most people would say that's absolutely amazing. How in the heck did you do that? Because most studio owners, nonprofit arts education programs will never serve 9,000 students in 1 year. But we did. So do I call that a failure? Or did I learn a lot this year in things we needed to tweak and where there were some gaps in the business? So then now we can take that, make those tweaks over the summer right now, which is what we're doing. So next year, when the season starts again for us, in September, that we're that much closer to our big, audacious, crazy goals. But we have to be able to embrace failure. And yes, I'm not going to lie to you. When the numbers came in at first, when I was like, gosh, I was disappointed. I was disappointed that we did not serve 12,000 students. Did I feel like a little bit of a failure? For a moment. And that's okay. But then I had to really see the impact. And what we did was pretty freaking magical. Okay, y'all? So embrace the failure and then learn from it. What were the takeaways? Implement the changes that you need to make and go from there. But we have to be willing to embrace the failure. Anybody ever have a problem with that? Like, let me know. Safe space. Let me know. Have you ever felt like when you don't hit the mark that it was a huge failure? Just me? I don't know. Okay. Before I get to the third piece of this, and the 3 ways to really see your growth as an overachiever, I wanted to let you guys know that I decided this week, or the last couple of weeks, so I have to tell you guys, I'm here, I'm sharing it, I'm an open book. I have a mentor and a coach, and one of the things that she reminded me of, because I need those reminders too, Molly said to me, Erin, the more fun you have in your business, this is for everyone. The more fun you have in your business, the more money you will make, the more joy you will find, and it won't feel hard, right? And so she challenged me because I get very one of the things that I know about myself is I look at things and sometimes they have to be a certain way, right? Like I've done things a certain way very intentionally. And, I'm thoughtful about the reason why I do things the way I do in my business. But sometimes that keeps me stuck in a box and takes away the joy from it, right? So she told me, Erin, you need to go have some fun in your coaching and consulting business. I want you to go have fun because you're having a lot of fun over in your nonprofit side. You are, like you guys are rocking it. You're having fun. Your staff is having fun, all the things. I want you to have a little more fun in, Dance Studio Empire. And so I thought about that a little bit. I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to do I'm going to have fun. I'm going to do some crazy deals. If people want them, they'll take them. If they don't, they don't. I am unattached to the outcome, which is not normal for a classic overachiever. So let me just say that it took some work on my part. So I decided, okay, I'm going to have fun. And what's going to be fun for me? So last week I made an offer for our mobile studio blueprint in 90 days of coaching, where I said, I'm going to have fun. I'm going to do a crazy deal. Anyone who wants to take it can take it. I'm only going to do a few of these and then I'm just going to be unattached to the outcome. And it was so much fun, honestly. It was so much fun chatting with studio owners and Messenger and talking to them about the program and if it's, a good fit for them and if, if it was right for them and or what they can do to kind of help themselves move forward. And so I said, you know what? That was fun. I'm going to do it again, but with a different offer. So for this week, I am offering, so we have a program, a group coaching program, and it's called the Empire Builders Club. Now, in the Empire Builders Club, we meet let me start out with the what. So once a month, we do a deep dive masterclass where me and my team, we are coaching on a specific topic. So July's topic is going to be how to create raving fans who stay and who basically tell your message, your exact messaging to everybody that they know, right? And so then that way your retention stays up, you increase your enrollment through that way. But the messaging is always your messaging. So we're going to dive into that. We also have live Q&A sessions every single month where you get to come on into our call, and you can ask anything when it comes to your business. There is nothing that is like off limits. Me and my team, we make sure that you're supported. And then we also have a private Facebook group where everybody joins in. We celebrate each other's wins. We help each other with the struggles. We also have a vault of trainings that you guys get access to. And so it's just a really great group, a small group of studio owners that really support each other. And it really is about getting all those foundational pieces in place and or tweaking ones that you have. So we dive into things like marketing strategies and enrollment and retention and hiring and leadership and profitability and recital planning playbooks. Like, we dive into all of those topics inside the Empire Builders Club, and it's just a great group. So I thought, you know what, I'm going to do something crazy, and you will get the rest of 2024, so July through December, for only $15.55. Now, I only am 5 of these. 2 have already been claimed from the one post and one email that was sent out. So 2 have been claimed. So we have 3 spots available right now for this deal of $1,555. So if you'd like more information, if you want to chat about if this is right for you and where you're at, just drop the word Empire below and we can talk. Or if you're like, no, I know, I'm ready to snag it, say, I am ready, Erin, EBC or whatnot, and we'll chat to make sure that you get one of those 3 spots that are left. So I'm not going to go too deep into the Empire Builders Club, but know that it's absolutely amazing space, and everyone is super supportive and really love seeing each other grow. Like, if you know me, I'm a no drama mama. And so we don't, people who come into our space, they know, one, that's not who they are, but they know better. So it is an amazing space that's super supportive. And so if you'd like more information, let me know and we can chat about it. Okay. So we talked about celebrating our strengths and getting support for our weaknesses. We talked about embracing failure. And so the third thing, which I know almost kind of feels like buzzword or whatever, but the reality is, and I'm going to dive into this a little bit deeper, is that we have to practice self-care and pause. And as that classic overachiever, and if you are someone who has these big audacious goals, and you love your business, it can be really, really easy to be working inside your business an awful lot, more than you actually need to. We have to practice self-care, and I'm going to put a little bit of a caveat here right now. So many times I hear this, oh, Erin, I'm practicing self-care. I make sure to go to my hair appointment or my nail appointment or go get a pedicure or whatever. Now, while that is a piece of it, self-care is so much more than that, my friends. And if you're sitting at your hair appointment with this, still answering emails, are you really taking a pause and caring for yourself? Practicing self-care is really thinking about, what is the best version of you? What do you need? For me, it's getting up before everybody else in my family because I need 30 minutes of quiet to be the best version of me for myself and for everybody else. I need 30 minutes. And in that 30 minutes, I love to read when it's quiet. okay. I love to stretch. Sometimes I might do yoga. Sometimes I might jump on the treadmill. Like, I need 30 minutes of just me. And yes, do I do things like go and get my hair done and go get a pedicure and do all the things as part of a bigger, self-care routine? Sure, I do, right? I got a hair appointment coming up. Y'all can start to see the darkness coming out of here, right? Sure, I do. But self-care isn't a singular event, right? Making health a top priority, like, was it fun to go get my mammogram the other day? No. Would I have loved to be doing other things? Sure, probably. But the reality is that my health is is part of my self-care practice, and that is something that is important to me. So even though that one small act wasn't the funnest, it never is, as part of a bigger picture though, it is part of me practicing my self-care. And here's the pause piece. Here's the pause piece. You have to be able to shut it all off, which can be really hard as a classic overachiever. You have to be able to turn it all off. You have to be able to pause and walk away, right? And focus on other things. You have to be able to say, I'm going to go on vacation and not worry about work. You have to be able to pause and say, I'm going to be fully present at, my daughter's awards assembly. Because if you don't take that pause, you're not living life. You're living to work instead of, or wait, you're working to live. You know that saying. I probably have it backwards, but if all you're doing is working or thinking about work, you're not living life. And y'all, hear me please. You are more than what you do for a living. And if you wrap up your whole identity in your work, you may become very, very lost in the next season of life, or if something happens and you're not able to do that work. So that pause is necessary to recognize who you are as a human, as a person. And again, this is something that I had to do a lot of work with, because I was really I was compartmentalizing myself, right? In the work. I'm a dancer, right? Yeah. Yes, that's a piece of me. That's something that I love to do. It's a passion, right? But it's not who I am. It's not, that's not my identity. I'm a lot of things, right? And so for me, taking those pauses, walking away completely from the work, it allows me to continue to do the work. It allows me to not get burnt out or feel overwhelmed or stressed as a classic overachiever. If we can really implement these 3 small things, you will be able to start to celebrate your growth and see how far you've come. Because as an overachiever, here you go. If you run marathons, you're an overachiever, right? But what do we know about the marathons, right? It's about the mile markers to get to that finish line. And when you first decide to run a marathon, if you've ever ran one, you celebrate every mile marker as an achievement, because when you start and you're maybe not a runner or, whatever, when you decide, you make the decision, I'm going to go for this big crazy goal of running a marathon. As you train and you hit those mile markers, you celebrate them. Those are wins. That makes you so much closer to the finish line. If you can do these three things, they start to stack upon each other. And every success, every mile marker is a celebration and a win. And when we can start to look at it from that place, we're like, what, I am pretty much, I am a badass, right? Like, I've done this and this and this. And so what I would love, I always, if you know me, I want you guys to walk away with something from your time, spending your time here with me on Wednesday mornings, or even if you come back in on the replay. And so there was an activity that I was encouraged to do by one of my mentors, one of my business coaches that I hired. And it really did. It gave me some clarity around all the amazingness that I am, the things that I've accomplished. When I go back to start feeling like, oh my gosh, I'm not there fast enough. I'm not there quick enough. I'm not there, whatever. The reality is that this activity helps me get clarity and some perspective on things, right? So my friends, if you've never done this activity, I would encourage you to do so. I would love for you to create a timeline. And in that timeline, I want you to really lay out big achievements, milestones, things that are relevant and significant to you. And you could go back all the way to the beginning of your career, or your life as a working adult, or even before that, if you have things that you want to include in there. When I did this activity and I started to look at the amount of things that I accomplished on that timeline, I really got perspective, right? I really did. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm in the small percentage of people who actually wrote and, published a book. I am in the small percentage of people who, did XYZ. Like, I really looked at each one of those things. I'm like, man, I'm proud of myself for all of the things that I've accomplished and that I now know that I will accomplish. It was that reminder that I could do the hard things and accomplish my goals, even though sometimes they're setbacks, even though sometimes some of the things might be deemed a failure, but they really weren't. They were the catalyst for bigger and better things that were out there. But I had to try and I had to fail first. And so when I look at that timeline, I'm reminded that once I make the decision, I am going to reach those goals. Now, sometimes how I reach those goals might come in different fashions, but that timeline helped me gain huge perspective. And so if you've never done a timeline exercise to really look at all the amazingness that you are, I encourage you to do that. Let me know. Has anyone ever done that exercise? If so, let me know. I would love to know, and what your thoughts were once you did it, because I know it was huge for me, and because I am a classic overachiever. So just knowing that. I keep my goals vague as a protection from failure. I'm so glad that you're willing to share that, because sometimes we do that, right? We don't get super detailed about our goals. We keep them vague. We don't put deadlines to them. We, because then if we don't hit them, we don't feel like we failed. And so thank you for sharing that. But it's really not helpful, right? In the long run. So I would encourage you to get more specific about those goals, set deadlines, and be, really specific about those goals because they will, they, it's like, putting in your GPS. If you don't put in the address in your GPS of where you're going, you may get there. But if you don't know where you're going, it's going to be really hard to know when you've hit your destination. Right? So, thank you for sharing that. I appreciate you sharing in here. So, if you've ever done the timeline, let me know. If not, I encourage you to come back in, share it with us. We would love, to know that you are getting that, got that done, what your insights, your takeaways were from that exercise. Next week, I'm going to be coming on and I'm going to be talking about freedom. Because it will be July 3rd, and I'm here in the States, and so we are going to be talking about freedom a little bit and what that looks like, whether it's time freedom, financial freedom, all the freedom that we want in our lives. So I'm going to be talking about that next Wednesday on the Aaron Bird Live Show. And again, if you have questions about the Empire Builders Club, that crazy deal that I decided to do just to have fun, let me know. But my friends, if you're a classic overachiever, you're my people. I'm one, and there's no shame in it. So I hope that you got a few takeaways from today. Remember the 3 things, right? I'm going to just do it real quick. So our 3 ways to really see our growth as an overachiever is number 1, to celebrate your